At time of recording, my most successful video on this channel is not even a video, it's a stream VOD, where I just decided on the day that H.Bomberguy's video about James Somerton dropped that I wanted to watch it, and since I wanted to watch it, I might as well stream it while playing video games, and a whole bunch of people liked it, and it's been served up in the algorithm basically ever since. I'm still getting repeat views on that for a stream VOD, which is weird. But since so many of my followers seemed to like that one, it seems like there's been an update because James Somerton put out a new video. A video called A Measured Response, which, if you know H.Bomberguy, you'll recognize as the title of several of his older videos. Stuff like climate change, a measured response, or a measured response to, you know, whoever he was debating with that month on YouTube back in his older days when he would put out more than one video a year. And so, like, it's not like H-Bomb owns the phrase a measured response, right? That's been around forever. But considering that James Somerton has provably plagiarized basically every single aspect of his content for years and years and years, at some point you have to say that, like, you forfeit the right to make this joke, because for other people it'd be like, okay, that's cute, you're making a reference, but for him it's like, no, you're just stealing jokes. Like, you've lost the right to do this, to call it a measured response. All that being said, let's take a look and a listen, shall we? It says, content warning, discussion of self-harm from 2808 to 3804. Now, I was watching Vosh earlier, and I stopped watching once he started actually watching the video, because I wanted to go into this fresh, but I did see this content warning, and Vosh did point out how front-loading it like that, like, normally you would put that warning here, you know, where the warning is. But putting it here, like, a half hour early, that literally is just there for, like, honestly, like, clickbaity sympathy points. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Just a disclosure, this video is monetized, but
it's not monetized for my viewers. Now, I have YouTube Premium, so he is getting my revenue for this. He's going to say here in that... Also, let me turn on closed captions. He's going to say here in the next couple seconds that he's donating all of that revenue to H.Bomberguy, who will be distributing it to the victims. But I'm just going to say, no, just don't monetize your video. Don't even give the appearance of impropriety. Don't do that. Nobody trusts you. You're a liar. You're a proven liar. So, like, honestly, even if H-Bomb posts receipts and says, yeah, I got all of this money, and he posted screenshots from his, you know, dashboard showing how much he made from the video, and here's how much I got. Even if all of that happens, I don't trust him that he didn't doctor the screenshots of his ad revenue from it. Like, I wouldn't trust anything from him. So just don't monetize the video, James. We're all still gonna see it, because, like, you became kind of the main character of the internet in December. You put out another apology video, of course people are going to go and see it. Like, that's inevitable. You don't need to make it monetized so that more eyes will see it. Everyone's going to see it because everyone is putting out a response. I literally saw in the sidebar here, hang on. Look, Vosh's response is already a video. He was streaming it earlier and it's already released as its own video. So don't monetize it. It complicates things for you. It makes it look like you are acting in self-interest right off the bat, and you could avoid that by just not monetizing it.
Revenue from it will be sent along to H.Bomberguy's team to be dispersed to the people whose work I plagiarized. If his team won't accept it, I'll be making monthly donations to Wikipedia and TransLifeline going forward. You may have also noticed that a few of my past videos have gone up on the channel again. And
were they ones that you plagiarized? Because that's not how that works. Hang on.
Revenue from those as well will also be sent along with the revenue from this video.
So videos that you have no rights to put up because they aren't your work, because they're plagiarized. You're putting it up and saying, oh, I'm just going to pass on the revenue. I don't trust you. By putting those up, you're not actually drawing light to other people's work. Those videos, as written, as edited, as shown on screen, still presented as your work. You have no right to put those back up.
Over the last couple of months, I've been getting in touch with the people who I plagiarized to apologize one-on-one instead of a mass apology. It's a bit difficult because many of them don't have public email addresses, so I'm still working on it, but it is a top priority of mine. I've heard back from a few of them, and they were actually incredibly nice, accepting my apology and just imploring me to do better in the future.
I've found often when people are personally aggrieved by somebody who has done it to a lot of people, that the individual apology goes a long way toward increasing their charitability toward you, just overall as a person. And that's not to say, oh, how dare they just forgive him? Of course, they're totally allowed to. But like, if you are having to make so many apologies that you are having trouble tracking down the people that you need to apologize to, putting this out here that said, oh, they were all very kind to me and just imploring me to do better. He's literally just trying to tell us, hey guys, it's okay. They forgave me. You can trust me again because they forgave me. When, like, a lot of people, if you seek them out to apologize to them, they will accept your apology. Most people are like that. Most people will accept a genuine apology. But when you open it up and say, oh, they've all been accepting of it, and they said, oh, they were very nice to me and they just want me to do better, that to the audience is telling you, see, they like me. You should like me. You should trust me again.
So I want to thank them publicly for that. There's plenty that I haven't heard back from, and I completely understand that. In many cases, I wouldn't want to talk to me either. I also want to...
The self-deprecation, like, it only works if you're a likable person. I know he's throwing that in there because he knows he became the villain after H-Bomb's video. But it just doesn't work because he's still not a likable guy. Also, like, does he still have all of that expensive film equipment that he bought? Because this video looks like shit. The lighting in here is atrocious. Did he spend all his money on cameras and none on lighting? Like, it's so flat. Like, seriously, everything. It looks like it's color graded to be a Marvel movie. And I know this is a common criticism of James Somerton, that he doesn't know how to make things look good. Like, he can buy all of the expensive, fancy equipment he wants, but he just doesn't have the know-how to actually make a good video. But you would think he might have internalized at least some of that. And, like, I don't know, just picked up a fucking ring light. He's got, like, okay, so you can see here there's, looks like a box light is reflecting there, but, like, and maybe, okay, looking at his eyes, there's another source here, but that might just be, like, a monitor that he's reading off of. There's just not a lot of good lighting in here. It's all very drab. And he has expensive equipment. Like, he's, like, his face is in focus and the back isn't. He's, you know, so he's got all of that working for him. It's just not lit well at all.
To apologize to my audience, though. You trusted me to be a good representative of the queer community, and I was not that. I tried to be. I tried to be a voice for every member of the queer community, but that was...
You tried to be the voice of every other member of the queer community because you kept stealing their stuff and saying it was you.
A failed endeavor before it even started. I'm a cis white gay man. No matter how much I try to be a good spokesperson, I can never really truly understand the life experiences.
No. Okay. This doesn't fly. This feels like it's from 2015. Like, here I am. I'm doing it. I'm checking in my privileges and I'm doing an acknowledgement of where I am coming from. Like, it's dated to begin with, but like, I just feel like first off, I feel like we're kind of past that rhetoric, but like, second off, like, it doesn't feel sincere. And also, like, it's not even something that I necessarily agree with. Like, I have seen cis people with better trans takes than trans people. Like, you go to see the brain rot on, like, 4chan on the TTTT board. Like, I'm sorry, but I know cis people who are far better spokesmen than people worrying about, like, God, I don't even want to use the terminology that TTTT uses because it's, for one, brain rot, and for two, kind of transphobic. But like, yeah, so the idea that, oh, well, as a cis white man, I am incapable of properly speaking to the queer community. Like, no, I know some incredibly queer cis gay dudes, and I know some incredibly normie gay people. Okay, that, like, what you should be engaging with probably is how queer they are, how enmeshed in the community they are, and not so much just the front facing qualifiers
of other far more put upon members of the queer community. This is one of the reasons that I would use their own words, but I should have made it very clear that that's what I was doing. I never ever thought that I was the only voice out there, as some have said, but
you were going after other content creators that you felt like wasn't he? Is my memory wrong here? I know he beefed with Jesse Gender on this one. That he really did seem like he felt like his was the only voice to be listened to, and I know, like, I don't want to, like, go off information that's only half remembered here, so maybe I'll just keep playing.
Being a cis white man, I thought I might be able to win over some people who wouldn't otherwise listen, unless it was someone who looks and sounds just like them.
Well, okay. There is, I can say, value to using your privilege to reach out outside of your demographic. But part of the problem there is that you don't really have the kind of charismatic presentation to really pull that off. Like, for instance, if we want to use a one-to-one comparison, taking a cis gay white man who does reach out and appeal to a cis heteronormative aesthetic, let's talk about Vosh. Now, I know Vosh is a very controversial figure, but it is undeniable that as a YouTuber, as a content creator, he has a very engaging style that has a lot of crossover appeal, and that he makes content that cis-hets can get into. And in fact, because of the way Vosh presents a lot of the time, Vosh often gets accused of not being queer enough, which all I have to say is just follow his secondary Twitter account. He's not a heteronormative guy, but he can front as one. And that carries a lot in terms of his appeal. Whereas this is like, I don't even know who he's appealing to here. But like, if he's trying to use his privilege to speak out and like get the normies on board, if I were a normie, I wouldn't watch him.
And so I tried speaking for everyone. And this was a horrible mistake. What I thought was being inclusive ended up leading to a lot of people feeling left out and even offended. This fell upon Nick as well, as a non-binary person on the ace spectrum. They wanted to include asexuality and non-binary representation in our videos, but because Nick's experience is not universal, there is no universal experience, people felt that we were delegitimizing their own experiences because we focused on Nick's, and I apologize for that.
Are you just throwing your editor under the bus? I know you said you apologize for that, but you're just saying people were upset because my framing of non-binary and asexuality was purely on my editor, and my editor's experience isn't universal enough. So I'm sorry that I don't know. It kind of, it feels like a backhanded way where he's like, no, I'm taking responsibility for the fact that my editor's experience isn't good. Like, what is that?
And I'm sure that Nick does as well. I'd also like...
Valhalla Vitti says, I believe Nick was a co-writer. Was he not the editor? I know he was a co-writer. I just thought he was also an editor, but I could be wrong there. Anyway, yeah, I know they co-writer. Well, I mean, I don't even know that co-writer is the correct term because James Somerton wasn't writing himself. He was like compiling other people's words.
To extend a personal apology to Jesse Earl, better known as Jesse Gender. Out of everyone that I spoke to who was also a YouTuber, Jesse was by far the kindest person. I think Jesse might be one of the kindest people I've ever met or ever encountered. We never actually met in person. Because of my hot-headedness, I drew her into just this anger spiral of mine that was unwarranted and absolutely ruined a possible friendship.
I mean, like after H-Bomb's video came out, there was probably no possible friendship there either. But I do know, I didn't, like I said, I didn't pay close attention to the whole like Jesse Gender, James Somerton beef, other than like I was kind of like, I had like vague recollections of it. Actually, I know Admiral Paco, at least you used to be a moderator for Jesse Gender, so maybe you know a little bit more about that, but I don't really know much about this.
She was actually doing her best to kind of mitigate my frustration and everything and at that moment, and I just wasn't allowing her to do that, and I really, truly, honestly want to apologize to her for that. Again, if you ever get the chance to speak with Jessie one-on-one, or if you have gotten the chance, you'll know just how nice she is and how kind. And I was a real asshole for dragging her into my...
Okay, so this is a little... Did he, like, try to reach out to her in private? Like, obviously I know it was a public beef, so of course talking about it publicly is fine, but like when he said if you get the chance to talk to Jessie one-on-one, I was almost expecting him to say, can you please let her know that I put this in the video or something like that. I feel like if he had reached out to her in private, he would have mentioned it here, but that he could have. It feels a little weird. It feels like, here's my public apology to Jesse Gender. No, I didn't reach out to her in private beforehand. I'm just bringing her up again so that, I don't know, maybe she doesn't want to relitigate this. I don't know.
Reactionary, unwarranted frustration. We haven't spoke since all of that happened. But Jesse, if you are watching this video, I do want...
Okay, so he just said they haven't spoke, so here it is, just in the video. I would have... I mean, like, she's probably got him blocked on Twitter. I know she has a lot of people blocked, but I don't know. She's got, like, a business email. There's Discord. There's ways to reach out to her. I would have tried that first, rather than putting it out here in this video.
You to know that I am honestly sorry for that. I hope... Truly, honestly, I hope everything goes as well as possible for you because you deserve all of it. There was a misunderstanding between Jesse and I after that happened that I do want to clear up, where someone who at least claimed to be a fan of Jesse's, did an internet and threatened to kill me, which is, being a person on the internet, death threats are unfortunately not uncommon. At the time, though, I was in a very panicked state, and so I did report it to the police. I did not report Jesse to the police, which is the misunderstanding that people...
Okay. I don't know if this is, like... I have to work from the assumption, knowing that he's a liar, that I can't really trust anything that he's saying. I don't blame anybody if they get a death threat for reporting it. Knowing Jesse Gender's community, I would be very suspect that the death threats were actually coming from within her community. But that's not to say that being in beef with a content creator who has a very nice persona doesn't mean that you won't still catch strays. I know that really any kind of public beef like that will catch you. I mean, I've gotten death threats from people because of like conflicts that I've had with other content creators, and I know that the death threats weren't coming from somebody within their community. So like, yeah, no, I don't doubt that he's gotten death threats. I'm sure he got a lot of death threats after H-Bomb's video. Like, I'm sure he did. That happens. The internet kind of sucks. But yeah, I don't really know anything about this situation.
Came away with. I did not.
Oh, Paco says, yeah, it's still a mod for Jessie. The beef wasn't even talked about on her Discord. Most of her community was in the dark unless they were on Twitter. Oh, okay. So you don't really know anything about it? All right.
Report Jessie to the police. I would have no reason to do that. And it did end up that this person had a prior record with the police of violent acts, and they actually lived quite near me. So the police took it very seriously. They took it so seriously that they implored me not to speak to Jessie, which I took their advice on.
That sounds like stupid legal advice. That cops are saying, "Well, this crazy guy, they gave you a death threat, so don't talk to this other content creator." Cops are stupid. Like, first off, I don't think that has anything to do with it. Maybe like don't publicly talk to Jessie. I could see that, but just saying don't talk to Jessie at all. Is he using that as his excuse for why he didn't reach out to her in private and is only now talking about why he's sorry to her? Dormius says that sounds straight up like a lie, though. Yeah, maybe. Mackenzie Latham says he's lying. He has faked this stuff many times before. Entirely possible. Now, I don't doubt that he has gotten death threats. Everyone on the internet has gotten death threats. That's kind of an unfortunate reality of living on the internet. But I don't know if this death threat happened, this particular one happened, and I don't know if him going to the police, if any of this is true or not. If he's got no receipts for it, then you have to take him at his word, and his word, unfortunately, is worth very, very little. So,
which I shouldn't have, honestly. I should have at least clarified to Jessie what was going on and not just left her hanging. And so I want to, again, apologize to Jessie for that. But in that state, I listened to the police, which is, maybe not the best decision all the time because the cops don't usually have the best interests of people at heart. So, Jessie, I want to apologize for that and everything else that happened. Completely understand why you would not want to speak to me ever again, but I just want you to know that I am sorry.
This apology could have been an email. That's all I'm saying. I feel like he's airing too much of this, especially because like his beef with Jessie Gender is completely ancillary to everything else. The reason he's being canceled was because of the plagiarism. The being an asshole to Jessie Gender was just like that's a cherry on top, right? That's not the same situation, and that's not why people are here. If he wants to apologize to Jessie Gender, he should have reached out to Jessie Gender. If he's doing it here, just front-loading it with everything else when people aren't even here for this, all this is doing is bringing increased attention to the fact that he beefed with Jessie Gender. Probably something that she would most likely want to move on from. I can't speak for her, but I know how she has handled internet beefs in the past, and she doesn't really like them that much. Not to say that anyone really likes internet beefs, but like she probably just wants to move on. And like, I feel like he probably should have gotten permission from her first before he did this public apology.
But now back on the original topic, the work Nick and I were doing on the channel, we wanted it to be, for everyone. We wanted it to be a channel where every queer person could feel welcomed, and we failed at that. That is something that in hindsight, I think is impossible to create. And that's why it's important for there to be many different queer voices in spaces like YouTube. And there are. What's more important is that those voices are discoverable, which is something that I should have been helping with.
That's right. You should discover queer voices. By the way, Gayfesh on YouTube. Subscribe.
I often shared other queer creators on Twitter, but this was when I only had, 800, 1,000 Twitter followers, and these creators usually had a whole lot more than that. It was a weird thing, because usually they would have infinitely more Twitter followers, but a whole lot less YouTube subscribers.
Yeah, follower counts don't really translate from platform to platform. And Twitter clout is kind of its own thing. It doesn't really translate to like YouTube clout or anything like that. Especially now that like Twitter has been set up so that like, you know, links are deprioritized in the algorithm, so you can't even really use it as like a self-promotion vehicle anymore. This is, you know, really kind of unrelated to the whole thing. James Somerton here is explaining why he stopped promoting other people, I'm assuming. Twitter used to be a good place to promote yourself and others. It's not anymore. Valhalla Video says, but I'm a queer creator doing things for the queer community. Queer, queer, queer. Like, dude, we get it. Yeah, he is really emphasizing that. And like, I have to emphasize over and over and over again that I know he's apologized for it in here, but a lot of his work, quote unquote, was built on the labor of queer people. And he's still trying to tie himself to that label by bringing up the queer community over and over and over again, when it's like, you are part of the queer community, James, but you harmed the queer community a whole lot. And I know you issued a lot of apologies and had a lot of people forgive you, like you said earlier on, without, you know, screenshots or anything like that, so I can only take your word for it, whatever that means. But aside from that, you took credit for the work of dead gay men who died from AIDS. And they can't forgive you because they're dead. They've been dead for decades, and you stole their work. Who gets to forgive you for that? Because they can't.
I'm not sure what created that dichotomy, but something was definitely off with the algorithm there. There is a part of my brain that says YouTube kind of went, oh, you know, white male queer, let's push him, and, you know, ignore everyone else in the community, whereas people were able to actually discover other queer creators on Twitter and then make their way to YouTube. But the YouTube algorithm kind of, that's the most negative interpretation I have of it, which unfortunately may be true. In any case, I should have done more to share the voices of other queer people. Certainly the people whose works I used, both credited and plagiarized in my...
I'm glad, because I worried when he said credited, I'm like, is he going to say uncredited? I'm glad that he said plagiarized. I'm glad that he is admitting that he plagiarized. There's that. Jeremy says they're coming after me for being a white man. Why left the left? He's not doing a why left the left grift yet. I mean, I've got 30 minutes still to watch, so we'll see where it goes. But
videos, but also just other creators on YouTube. It's important for us as a community, as vaguely defined as we are, to support each other. And I didn't do that nearly enough. From day one, I was very taken in by the idea of being a YouTuber. As soon as my videos started to get recommended by the algorithm, after not releasing a new video for like 2 years, I felt like I had a short period of time to get the next videos out as soon as possible, which is why so little work was put into the writing of them.
Actually, a lot of work was put into the writing of them. It just wasn't your work.
And so much was taken from other places, plagiarized. Early on, I thought crediting authors in the opening credits alone was enough, especially since the videos weren't monetized early on. But I understand now, especially after speaking with some of the people who I did plagiarize, that was just, I was wrong. That was not the way to go about it. They should have been cited properly.
I don't even believe him. I don't believe him that he thought that just putting their names up in front was enough. Like, this is a CYA. Yeah, I don't believe him. Like, and let's not forget that a lot of times he didn't put their names up. Like, a lot of times he stole people's work without crediting them in any way, shape, or form. Their names weren't attached to the videos. So, yeah, I don't believe him.
Within the text of the video, they should have been called out in the video at least once.
Also, like, just in general, I know this is his second attempt at apologizing. His first one, which I haven't seen in its entirety, I only saw little bits of it where he was very weepy the whole time and opened the video by talking about how he had attempted suicide and how he really, really wanted to still make videos. That was very self-serving, and I understand why he took it down. This is still very self-serving because when you are making an apology, the way to do the apology is to state the harm that you did and say that it was wrong. End of sentence. What he's doing here is he's saying, oh, well, here's why I did those bad things, which is justifying it. And that makes for a bad apology because he's justifying it, then he's minimizing it. Because he's minimizing it, he doesn't really think that it was as bad as it was because he could rationalize a reason why he did it. But everyone can rationalize a reason why they do bad things. That's kind of how the human brain works. But that's not enough because he did the bad thing. So, like, I know I say I don't care about his explanation. Obviously, I'm still going to watch his explanation, but, like, I do not care what motivations you had or what good intentions you are now pretending to have ascribed to yourself back then that led you to do the bad thing. But I don't believe you that you didn't know what you were doing. And irrespective of all of that, it shouldn't be in the video. You should just say, here are all of the bad things that I did. They were bad and I'm sorry. That's an apology. Stating what you did, acknowledging it was harmful, attempting to make reparations for it, and particularly because it's a case of severe dishonesty, showing receipts for your attempts to make reparations for it. Because he's opened it up by saying, yes, this is monetized, but I'm going to be, giving that out. And if he shows receipts in this video, looks like it's just his face for 42 minutes. I don't see really any time where he brings something else up on screen. Oh, except, nope, that looks like that's an email. But beyond that, if he's got receipts, they're not here. Now, let's see. Let's take a look. Nope. In fact, his description has a link to his Patreon. Now, if he's posted receipts elsewhere that show that he is giving money to the aggrieved parties, if somebody can let me know where I could find that, then that'd be one thing. But, like, most people are just going to watch this video. They're not going to do the efforts to actually go and look at all of that other stuff. When he's making this apology, this is it. This is what people are going to see. And if he doesn't bring the receipts, if we can only take him at his word that he's apologizing and that he's working to make amends, like, what good is that? Anyway, and, like, I kind of even just got on a rant that was a little, like, branched off from what he was even talking about, because where I paused here, he was justifying why he did the bad things. Like, oh God. Okay, let's go.
Verbally, as well as, having citations on screen. If there were a whole lot of them, like with, one of the examples that H.Bomberguy used in his video was the deep cuts video. There were a whole lot of people who I, credited in the opening credits, but really it's plagiarism. They should have been cited on screen with actual citations of, links where you can find this stuff. Maybe there should have even been a bibliography that you could have gone to, like on a Google Drive or something like that. Because, although I might have stated that the scripts were based upon the work of these authors, it, in many cases, wasn't just based on their work. It was their work.
Okay. Actually, what he just said there, it kind of ties back into my whole thing about showing receipts. Because, yeah, here he's talking about how he thought just putting it up there, which I don't believe him, he knew what he was doing. But, like, saying, oh, well, I thought if I just put their names up at the beginning, that would be good enough to credit them. Almost like he thinks saying, yeah, I'm the money from these videos is going to the victims because I said so. That's enough. Like, yeah, you actually do have to do the work to show that you did the work.
Word for word. In some cases, I did get permission. Like with the Evil Queens Disney video. I'll put the email up on the screen that I got.
Let's see. Okay, this is from Sean Griffin in September 10th, 2020. Says, "Hi, James. I did get a chance to watch your video. While I'm perhaps not as pessimistic about the relationship between Disney and LGBTQI culture as your pieces, I recognize and largely agree with the issues you're raising about where things have gone since I wrote my book. And I'm grateful for the shout out on the title card. It was the one thing that I was going to request, that you give me at least a bit of citation. It's a very thoughtful video, and I hope your audience gets a lot out of it. All the best, Sean."
From Sean Griffin, where he did give me permission to publish the video. I sent the finished video to him, and he watched it, and he gave me permission. But
okay, hang on. Wait. He's saying this is the email where he had sent him the video ahead of time and got permission, and he's like, "I'm grateful for the shout out on the title card. It was the one thing that was going to request that you give me at least a bit of citation." This is like a very backhanded thing. Like, it's very passive aggressive, saying, "Hey, I was hoping for at least a little bit of citation, and I guess you did the bare minimum."
To him, and he watched it, and he gave me permission. But in most cases,
also, like, that email doesn't, I mean, I don't know when that video came out. If that video came out after September 10th, it's probably taken down. I'm gonna check his YouTube channel. Here, let me drag this up here. Videos. How many do we have? He's left up several. Does he have the Evil Queens? It doesn't look like he does. Which is weird, because if that video is one where he was literally given permission, or he's claiming he was given permission by the author, then why wouldn't he leave that one up? But it doesn't look like it's up, so I can't check the date. But anyway, that email doesn't explicitly show him giving permission to post the video. That's just saying, "Hey, I liked the video." Like, you might be able to infer a rubber stamp of approval to post the video there, but for James Somerton, notorious serial liar, I'm gonna want to see, like, receipts showing exactly what you say they're showing.
I didn't get permission, and thought that just putting the author's name in the opening credits was enough. I was much more interested in the production of the videos than the writing of them at this point. So after 3 or 4 videos, I brought Nick on as a main writer for the channel.
Throwing Nick under the bus again. He's saying he's more interested in the production of the videos than the writing, so I brought Nick on as the main writer, which means that if there's any issues with the writing for the video, that it was Nick who was doing the plagiarizing. That's the implication. I need to remind you all that Nick cut ties with James Somerton when H.Bomb's video came out. As far as I can tell, Nick was caught completely off guard by this whole thing. Like, I don't imagine that you just happen to get two people who are both independently plagiarizing. Either they're both plagiarizing and they know that they're both plagiarizing, or only one of them is plagiarizing and the other one trusts the first one's work and doesn't check it.
The idea is that they would write the vast majority of the scripts. I would film, voice, and edit the videos, and we'd split the money that came in. We were roommates at the time, and Nick...
Oh my god, they were roommates. Sorry.
Didn't have a job, so I figured it would help both of us. This is actually when we had some of our biggest videos, like the ones talking about Wiccan and Hulkling, where we...
Hisnich said Nick didn't even double-check James's notes, or his notes for that matter, since Nick admitted that he didn't even do research. Okay, I haven't looked too much into Nick's testimony on that. Hisnich said Nick already threw James under the bus and left about it. Hisnich, are you saying throwing James under the bus? Are you a fan of James Somerton? Because, like, I don't know, just from the phrasing there, I don't know how much I should take your word on it.
We lucked out because it came out right in time for WandaVision to hit. And then the killing stopped.
Oh, hell no. Okay, I was just... Sorry, I... just saying Nick throwing James under the bus, like, I don't think that's a fair way to phrase Nick cutting ties with somebody after they were outed as a plagiarist. Like, that's not throwing him under the bus. What James is doing by tying Nick to this is throwing Nick under the bus. James is the front of the channel. It is James's channel. Nick was hired to work on James's channel. So when James is outed for doing these things, if he puts any of the blame on Nick, then that is throwing Nick under the bus. Mackenzie Latham says they both turned on the other, but James was the most deceptively gaslighting about it. Right. Well, yeah, I mean, sure. Yeah, of course they turned on each other because Nick cut ties with him over this. And then James Somerton was, it was suggesting that Nick is responsible for some of this. I can't imagine a situation where they were both independently plagiarizing, like without knowledge of it. So either Nick knew about the plagiarizing and is lying about it and blaming James, or Nick didn't know about the plagiarizing and was just assuming James was doing his own research. James has already, in this video, admitted that he himself is doing plagiarizing. So he's already confessed. So we know James is plagiarizing. So to throw Nick in here as well means that he's trying to deflect some of the blame onto Nick. And I don't know. I don't really buy that. Anara says they both share responsibility. Nick is going to find it hard to be taken seriously. Sure. Yeah, I get that. I don't know how much of the blame should be put on Nick. I don't know the writing situation. Either Nick knew about the plagiarism or Nick didn't know about the plagiarism, but it's not like I said, they weren't both independently doing plagiarism without knowing about the other person's plagiarism. That's not what was happening here. Like, that's not a situation that you would typically run into. That would be crazy. Nick either knew or abetted James. Well, it could be that Nick didn't care to do enough research himself to look into the claims that James was putting in and just took James's word for it. That's entirely possible. Like I said, I don't really know that much about Nick. I don't want it to come across like I'm absolving Nick of all responsibility here, but it really does just seem like James wants us to associate Nick with this when James is the front of the channel and James was doing the plagiarism, confessed that he was doing the plagiarism. So,
Talking video, which became our biggest video by far. The Sadism of Class was another one. These videos weren't plagiarized, and we loved making them. It didn't take long for the channel income to start growing. Lucky timing, really, because this was around the same time that I was laid off, since the company that I was working for downsized once COVID hit its second year. Nick and I had both grown up poor, so we started doing what we could to try and stabilize our income as much as possible. This meant putting out more videos, which meant I had to take over more of the writing duties. But since filming, editing, usually doing multiple edits because of YouTube copyright issues, as well as managing the channel and dealing with my mom's recent cancer diagnosis, all of that was already taking up so much of my time.
Don't bring up your sick mom. Just do not bring up your sick mom. That is purely a sympathy ploy. You did harm to other people. Don't bring up your sick mom and try to act like that is, just don't do it.
Time and attention. This led to a lot of copy and pasting blocks of text into scripts. My intention at the time was to use these as a jumping off point once Nick and I sat down to edit the script, because that's...
Oh my God. Right. Okay. So if he's saying that that's his intention, then he is here trying to imply that Nick knew about the plagiarism, which, like I said, it is possible, but it does feel like he's throwing Nick under the bus for it. Yeah. Like right here, he is admitting that he did the plagiarism. Nick didn't do the plagiarism. He did the plagiarism. He took the block of text, put it in the script, and says his intention was. So Nick wasn't doing the plagiarism. Nick was either aware of the plagiarism or unaware of the plagiarism. But this right here is showing that it was James doing the plagiarism. And if Nick knew about the plagiarism, then that's a problem. And that makes Nick complicit. And it also may be a thing where if Nick knows about the plagiarism, then Nick is also doing the plagiarism. I'm not in that room. I don't know. I'm not inclined to believe James Somerton at all. I don't really know Nick. It's entirely possible that they were doing it. I'm just saying I don't trust James. I don't believe James for a second. I don't believe his framing of things. So
That's what we would do. I would sort of put in my parts, Nick would put in his parts, and then we would sit down at a table, read through the whole script, and kind of try and make it seem cohesive. But, and here's something I'm sure a lot of people will call a bullshit excuse.
Mm-hmm.
I have memory issues.
Bullshit. Yep, that's a bullshit excuse. You didn't accidentally forget that you were plagiarizing dozens and dozens of videos. Fuck off. You didn't plagiarize entire blocks of text and forget that you were plagiarizing entire blocks of text so that you didn't bring it up to Nick when you were working on editing the script into it. Fuck off. If this was a one-time thing, if you put in a block of text one time that was a plagiarism and forgot to bring it up to your writing partner and that snuck into a video, but that was your only offense, I might buy that as an excuse. But this was serial. Like, H-Bomb showed how often it happened. So fuck off.
Because of a head injury from when I was a child. They're actually getting worse. I've talked about it on streams and in videos, so yes, it is real, but some people will call it a bullshit excuse anyway.
It is a bullshit excuse anyway. You may have a head injury. You may have memory issues. But that doesn't mean that you fall into a permanently habitual pattern of accidentally putting in plagiarized materials into your work, not notating it, and then forgetting to bring it up to your co-writer. That doesn't happen on a consistent schedule for years. That's not how memory issues work. You did this knowingly. You didn't forget to bring it up to Nick. You deliberately plagiarized. Like, I don't buy this for a fucking second. And throwing this in here now, you're sorry you got caught. That's all this says to me, because you're just minimizing what you did at every conceivable opportunity, bringing up your sick mom, bringing up your memory issues, bringing up like this, that, and the other, calling Nick your head writer. All of this is to minimize your own culpability for what you did. This is not a fucking apology. What the fuck?
The head injury is actually what led to me having epilepsy, which is why I can't work in any job that involves physical labor. Employers can't get insurance for me to like lift things or operate vehicles and stuff like that. I actually did marketing for a restaurant group for a little while, but got let go when they found out that I was epileptic because, at least according to them, I couldn't be insured to be in the kitchens where I needed to be to film videos and take photos and stuff like that. But anyway, when it came to edit...
Yeah, there it is. Just more of the pity party. Here, I couldn't do any other job than plagiarizing other people's work. His niche, he didn't say narcolepsy, he said epilepsy. Narcolepsy is when you have frequent sleeping bouts. Epilepsy is a seizure condition. Oftentimes, it doesn't sound like to him, it doesn't sound like it's a photosensitive epilepsy for him. I'm not super familiar on all of the details of epilepsy, but yeah, epilepsy is something that where you can have induced seizures. Yeah, Bakuni says he never did the job in the first place. Plagiarism is not a job. This is true.
The scripts, I couldn't remember what I...
His niche says, what bearing does this have on him being a plagiarist? It's nothing. It's just a pity party. He's just, he's bringing up hardships in his life so that you take pity on him, so that you forgive him for taking credit for the work of dead gay men. That's it. Ultimately, that's what it is. I have health issues, so you should feel sorry for me for taking the credit, stealing the work of dead gay men. Like, I need to hammer that down, because it wasn't just that he was plagiarizing. He was taking the beautiful artwork and the beautiful words that came out of the tragedies of the gay genocide of the 80s and passing it off as his own shit. Remember how heinous what he did was. So, like, I don't give a fuck that you have epilepsy. Tough shit. That doesn't mean you get to fucking take credit for the work of dead gay men.
Written and what had been copy-pasted. We should have just chucked out everything that I had put into the script and filled them in with wholly original thoughts.
Yes. Yes, you should have. There, you said it. Okay, we're at 13 minutes and 52 seconds into the video. What's the rest of this doing here? You have said what you did. You have said it was wrong. You have said that you have reached out to the aggrieved parties, at least the ones that you can. So what's the rest of this video for? Because it's not a fucking apology.
Or I should have been taking notes on where things came from so that we could at least cite them in the videos, if nothing else. But I never did that. According to my therapist, my not thinking to do that probably stems from my recently diagnosed ADHD, but
I have ADHD. Sometimes I forget to write things down, but that doesn't lead to serial plagiarism. I have ADHD and I can develop habits. You got in the habit of taking things from other people. You can also develop the habit of writing down your fucking citations. One of the downsides, and I'm saying downsides as a corollary because just overall, I think the increased attention to mental health struggles is a good thing. People should be more aware of mental health issues so that we can eliminate the stigma from those mental health issues, so that we can better understand as a society how to deal with those mental health issues in a healthy and productive way. But the corollary to that of bringing increased awareness to them is that people are starting to use that to excuse their behavior, to say, here's why I did this bad thing. I have ADHD. No, I'm not going to point out that other people with ADHD don't do what I did. It was the mental illness. And the mental illness could possibly play a part in why you did those things. But at the end of the day, you are the only one who lives inside your head. You are the only one controlling your body. And damaged as your mind might be, it's still your mind, and your mind is still connected to your body. And your body does things that are your responsibility. Yao Bikuni says, this is contributing to the stigma. James is making it sound like people with ADHD can't function or plagiarize regularly. Yeah. No, this is, it does harm. It does harm. Because people see advocates for mental health things like this and go, oh my God, they just don't want to take responsibility for their actions because they're just using all of these mental illnesses. Should we even believe that they're true? You know, like that's a risk that you run into when you do shit like this. ADHD is a real thing, okay? I haven't been diagnosed with it, but like, if I don't have it, I don't know, like, what the fuck do I have? Because like, I have basically every single symptom of ADHD, especially the executive dysfunction. That's a big one for me. So I understand the struggle of ADHD. I get it a lot. And it's not an excuse for bad behavior. So don't bring it up as an excuse for bad behavior. We don't want bad behavior to be associated with a specific mental health condition, because then people are going to see that bad behavior and go, oh, that person, that bad behavior, they have ADHD, or they're a narcissist, or they have BPD. No, we don't want to do that. We want to call out bad behavior for being bad behavior. We can inform that behavior based on extenuating circumstances within the mental health and take steps to make sure that people are getting the help that they need, but that doesn't absolve them of the responsibility for their actions.
ADHD, but I don't know if I'm willing to say that, really.
You don't know if you're willing to say that thing that you literally just said. That's so fucking dishonest. Well, my therapist said it might be my ADHD, but I don't know if I should mention that. You just mentioned it. What the fuck is this having your cake and eating it too? Like, look at that bullshit rhetoric. Just immediately, it's so naked.
Maybe it was, or maybe it was just plain laziness. Maybe I thought that this was somewhere that I could cut a corner because I was torn in so many other directions. Honestly, I can't remember, like I said. Memory issues. But yes, we should have just thrown out my contributions to the scripts and filled them in with original writing.
Honestly, Nick should have worked for a better YouTuber.
But we felt like we had too much of a time crunch. We felt like we had to get videos out more often to feed the algorithm. And then my mom died, and I became completely useless. I couldn't think straight at all. So Nick...
Well, you're gay, so... And I get to say that joke because I'm also gay. So you couldn't think straight because you're thinking gay. No. Again, all of this is just him rationalizing why he did the bad thing. And bringing up his mom dying, like, I'm sorry your mom died. That sucks. Family members dying sucks. That has nothing to do with you stealing the work of dead gay men. So don't fucking bring it up in your apology. I don't care.
Had to completely take over writing duties while I dealt with things you deal with after a person dies. My dad, you see, he can't read or write. He was very poor when he was a kid, so he had to leave school really young to work in order to feed his many brothers and sisters. So I had to deal with all the legal stuff after my mom died as well.
I don't care. This is all just more woe is me. Here is why I did the bad thing.
Well as making sure that all my dad's bills were paid and whatnot.
Transpersion says, what are we even talking about now? Yeah, like he's literally just going off onto a pity party now. Here's how bad my life was when I did the plagiarism. Like, I don't give a fuck. I literally do not care. I don't even know that I believe that any of this is true because he's a notorious liar. So again, I don't, sure, maybe his mom died. Probably his mom died. I don't know that he's, like, I can't imagine his mom is going on YouTube and bringing up, oh, my son put out a video. Let me watch this. And then it turns out she's dead in that one. She goes, what the fuck? Like, yeah, his mom's dead. I don't think that's something that you can just straight up lie about. But, like, he's just bringing it up as a pity party. He's just bringing it up to excuse the bad things that he did. And I think there is a time and a place to talk about the extenuating circumstances that might have contributed to you doing bad things, but it's not in your fucking apology video.
Especially after his income was basically cut in half. There was supposed to be a buffer here.
Naira the Wandering Snake says, YouTuber take breaks for this stuff. Well, yes, but also, unfortunately, YouTube does punish you for taking breaks. I try to stream twice a week, and I put out daily uploads. And if I miss one of those streams, I notice that my views go down overall. Like, it stops pushing out my videos as much. So, not excusing his plagiarism at all, but I do understand the content grind mindset and that YouTube really doesn't want you to take breaks. It's something that you have to be aware of, and, like, it's something, and, like, I'll miss streams for, like, mental health reasons and stuff like that. I'm not afraid to take those breaks, but I do notice that when I take those breaks, it does negatively impact my channel. Mackenzie Latham says, Fesh, you need to understand this is not an apology video, it's a measured response. Yeah, but it's an apology video because he was front-loading it with a whole bunch of apologies. The rationality for why he did those things shouldn't be in a video like this where he's apologizing for stuff. If he wants to have a pity party later, okay. But, like, his first apology was self-serving and gross and a pity party. And it was so bad that he took it down. And since he took it down, that makes this his official apology video. And it's self-serving and a pity party and gross. It's the same fucking thing. I'm almost wondering if he's going to take this one down at some point. If he does, actually, it would be really funny if he took it down while I'm watching it. I do have it downloaded in case that happens, so it won't impact me. I can just pull up the video. But, yeah.
Money-wise, as my mom had a life insurance policy that was going to be split between my dad and myself. But the insurance company, RBC Insurance, so if you have insurance with them, maybe rethink that, refused to pay out the policy because my mother never mentioned that she had family with diabetes. She didn't have diabetes, but because she didn't think to mention that she had family with diabetes, it apparently voided the policy. All they did was refund a year's worth of premiums that she'd paid, even though she'd been paying them for about 15 years. One of the things...
fuck insurance companies. Sure. But again, I don't care about your pity party. Is the whole rest of this just going to be a pity party? When was the last time he said sorry?
The main thing, really, that I was supposed to do with my portion of the insurance money was I was supposed to make a movie. These were direct instructions from my mom herself. She'd been...
Holy shit. Holy fucking shit. Holy fucking shit. The movie that failed to materialize, that he grifted a whole bunch of people out of their money for, was his dying mom's dying wish. Holy fucking shit. Fuck you, dude. Really? That's the angle we're going with here? Holy shit.
Very much behind me when I decided, when I was about 10, that I wanted to be a filmmaker. And she wanted me to finally have the opportunity to do that, even if she never got to see it. So when the life insurance went bust, I decided to try and crowdfund it, at least enough to make a short film or two. This is what Telos grew out of. So, what happened with Telos? All
right, let's get into it. Front loading. Like, this is the first time he is mentioning Telos. And it's front loaded with a huge sob story about how his mom died and the insurance company, fucked them over on the payout. Okay? Reminder, he crowdfunded a film project that never fucking materialized. So he stole people's money. And he is now bringing this up after the sob story, so that when you're thinking about, oh wow, oh man, his poor mom, wow, insurance companies, man, they really fucking suck, right? God, man, that really sucks. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Then he goes into the part about how he stole a bunch of people's money. And he wants you to have it in your head, not that he stole people's money, but that his mom died. I was wondering, why is he even bringing his mom into this? Now I know, and it's horrible. I wish his mom wasn't dead. Just because, like, nobody should have to have their legacy be their lying children using them for pity while they committed immoral acts.
Break down the timeline. When we launched the campaign in February of 2022, we hoped to raise $3,000 to produce a short film that we hoped that we would then use as a sort of proof of concept to attract investors, either private, public, or through Canada's telefilm program, to produce a feature. Some people online have stated that $3,000 never would have covered the cost of a short film, but these were not going to be unionized movies, and we were very clear about that up front. We wanted to be able to pay actors as best that we could, but we never expected to be able to reach typical union wages. The crew was going to be made up of people that I had gone to film school with. Everyone, including Nick and myself, we were...
If you're unfamiliar with the content that I usually do on my channel, I actually spent a lot of time covering the writers and actors strikes when those were going on. I have a significant interest in particularly the entertainment industry and unions. And I'm of the opinion that if you're going to make a short film and you can't get union workers, then you should not make a short film. Now, obviously, he did follow that advice. He didn't make a short film. But if you only have $3,000 to make a short film, that's a short film that you should make with your buddies. That's not a short film that you should be hiring people for. If you're hiring them, you should pay them what they're fucking worth. And $3,000 ain't gonna cut it. Now, I have seen films made on shoestring budgets that were pretty good. Primer, famously, was made on $7,000. And that movie does not look like it was made on $7,000. It looks cheap. Like, it looks very low budget. Cheap isn't the right word. But, like, they made full use of all of their knowledge to make that movie look worth more than it was. But, yeah. You can make a short film for $3,000. I just don't think you can make it ethically. So that alone, he shouldn't have done. Obviously, he didn't make it, but he still fundraised for it. And nothing ever materialized.
Roommates at the time living on the East Coast were more than happy to work behind the scenes for free. We planned on writing a movie with a small cast and only 1 or 2 locations, ideally ones that we could get access to for free. Again, we assumed all of the money would go to the actors. We kind of looked at this as a sort of community theater troupe, but for filmmaking.
Okay, I have done community theater. Actually, I think because I've done a lot of community theater. I actually think there's only a couple of acting things that I've ever done that I was actually paid for. And I've done them for the love of the craft. But also, like, when I was in like high school, I had aspirations of being a professional actor. I was doing community theater primarily because like it was a lot easier to get into and it could help me build a resume so that I could try my hand at paid gigs and stuff like that. So like I'm not unsympathetic to the idea. Like I said, if you want to make a short film on a shoestring budget, you make it with your buddies, and it sounds like that's what he's kind of describing. But like, you know, I have since kind of turned around and I'm like, no, acting takes a lot of work, and it's not as appreciated as people even think that it is. So if you are hiring actors, you're not just you and your buddies acting in it yourselves. You pay them what they're worth, and what they're worth is union.
Campaign launched, it did.
Mackenzie Latham says he says they only had 3K, but he has 6K, one 6K and one 8K film camera. Well, those are for his channel. The Telos thing is a separate project. Now, obviously, he can use those cameras for his short films and stuff, but those are separate from the short film financing project, right? Like, obviously, if you're doing a shoestring budget film, you're going to use existing hardware, existing equipment, which those cameras would be.
Infinitely better than we could have expected, and our ambitions grew. We started planning to make a feature instead of a short film. And the
Mackenzie says someone noted that he had 10K around a 10K equipment, was frequently talking about how little money they had for filming or supporting a film. Yeah. And like you might do weird accounting tricks for that, saying, well, this is money that I had for, you know, my channel. This was separate from, you know, the film thing. The film thing, it needs to come from its own budget and stuff like that. Like accounting fuckery, you know, shit like that. I don't know how much I buy. Obviously, I'm not inclined to be charitable to him at all. So you're probably very right. Dan has an entire thread on how much he was lying about the Telos fair foldable human. Yeah. I think I read that. It's been a while. Like, I haven't really looked into the whole situation basically since H-Bomb dropped his video. I watched that one, and like I was looking into things for about a week afterward. But basically, since then, I'm just going off of my memory of what I saw from back then. So if I'm missing something, I appreciate chatters in here that can remind me or fill me in on stuff.
Plan was to take this around to film festivals. The feature we settled on, entitled Final Girl, was about the lone survivor of a slasher movie type massacre 10 years after the fact, as she was publishing a book about her ordeal, drawing attention from people online convinced that she had actually been the killer all along. In the end, we would find out that the killer was the boyfriend of the girl who the main character had secretly been dating at the time of the killings. And most of the people he killed were, in his eyes, collateral damage as he made his way to our main character, because he was not happy that his girlfriend was cheating on him with a girl. And to those who say that I plagiarized the plot from the novel Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix, read the book. It's nothing like the plot of the movie. And
I can only take his word on that. I'm not going to go read that book. Yeah, okay. I was wondering where he was going with this. I was like, I don't care. Why are you telling me the plot synopsis? But I guess, okay, if people are accusing him of doing that. Yeah, okay. So, and the concept of a final girl, right? That is a thing that's been around since basically the dawn of the slasher flick. And the idea of following a final girl in her, you know, post-slasher life, like, I mean, we've seen that in the Scream sequels, right? With Sydney's character. So it's not a unique idea. So it's not outside the realm of possibility that two different people could come up with the idea to tell a story about a final girl after the whole slashing thing was over. Actually, there's a film that came out last year called It's a Wonderful Knife, which is a very fun, very campy slasher flick where basically the final girl wishes that she had never been born. And it ends up with the slasher having killed a lot more people because of it. So, like, there are story concepts around the final girl, right?
Final girl is a trope in
it's a trope.
horror movies. So if using the final girl trope is plagiarism, then basically everyone who's made a slasher movie since Texas Chainsaw Massacre
His Ninja said, what movie is this called again? It's called It's a Wonderful Knife. I think it's on Shudder. I could be wrong there. I don't know where you can find it. I saw it in the theater, but it's a very fun, very campy movie. It doesn't take itself seriously at all, and it's good. It's great.
Owes the Toby Hooper estate some money. But anyway, Nick and I planned out the movie, but I didn't want to start writing it until the campaign ended and the money was actually deposited. After the insurance debacle, I didn't want to count our chickens before they hatched. When the money was officially deposited, I immediately began work on the screenplay. I finished it that summer, soon after Nick had left to spend 2 months at home in Ottawa, Ontario with family. I sent the script to him to read right away because I was very proud of it. But Nick...
What is this story for? I don't know. At this point, it feels like he's mostly doing this for his audience, but like, this video obviously was going to go outside of his audience. Or is this just going to be another sob story? Like, we're going to, like I was sitting there going, okay, yeah, your mom died. I'm very sorry about that. And then it came into and it was her dying wish that I made this movie. Like, that's when it clicked to me. So when is it going to click? What are we building to here? What's going to click that he's going into all of the details here? He's going to come up with another sob story for why he ran off with all the money.
Didn't want to share his opinion on it until he got back to the East Coast. So in the meantime, I put out a preliminary casting call on local job boards. When Nick got back, he believed that the script needed a page 1 rework. This is also when he told me that he'd be moving back to Ontario permanently soon, as he...
Actually, you know what? That doesn't surprise me at all. That James Somerton, who to this point has been plagiarizing all of his work, started writing a screenplay, and if he didn't plagiarize it, that Nick would come in and go, oh yeah, no, this isn't very good. Because up to this point, he hasn't been doing any writing. Yabakuni says, I have heard that liars tend to embellish their stories, and this feels like he's doing just that. Yes. That is a common thing that you will find, is that they will try to drown you in details, because the more details you have, the more true the story is, right? Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks for bringing that up. Anyone know the like to dislike ratio? Well, it didn't load up for me. I can't see any likes on it, but I don't want to refresh, so we can maybe refresh later and find out if it loads up.
Wanted to live closer to family and live in a bigger city with more opportunities.
Although, actually, hang on. It says disabled by owner, so he might actually have likes and dislikes hidden entirely. So you might not even be able to see how many likes this video has.
This was a punch to the gut for me. We had been living together since 2015 and had become quite dependent on each other. I felt like there was no way that I could make this movie without him. And since I had received not that many replies to the initial casting call, I took this as a sign that Ontario would be a better place to launch Telos, even though all my professional film connections were on the East Coast. That was a mistake. There, I had free access to the campground that would serve as the setting for a good portion of the movie, as well as easy access to any number of houses, apartments, and even offices that friends of friends would let me use to shoot. In Ontario, I had none of that, which immediately put the brakes on Final Girl, since there was no conceivable way of filming it, at least not within the budget that we had.
So did you refund any of the money that you fundraised for it then? You moved cities, realized you couldn't make the film. At that point, you post an update to your backers saying, hey guys, this fell through. Here's your money back. Did you do that? Because I'm betting you didn't.
After Nick and I moved to the Toronto area, he decided that he actually wanted to move home to Ottawa, to the Ottawa area, about 5 hours away, at least for a little while. In the meantime, he would take a train to the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area, once a month to work on YouTube videos for a few days and then head back. This went on for a little less than a year. So I began brainstorming new movies that we could film in Ontario. This is where the multiple posters and teaser trailers came from. I was trying to create something tangible to show that work was still being done with Telos. I wrote multiple...
We were trying to show that work was being done, even though we couldn't secure any filming sites or get any actors on board. But we made some posters, and that's because I wanted my financial backers to know that I wasn't wasting their time, that I was actually doing work. I was in Photoshop for a couple hours making some posters for it. That's the money well spent. Keep it coming.
Treatments for movies over the next few months, and Nick and I eventually landed on one called Antisocial, a murder.
Quinn says, why does Nick in any way needs to be in person for any of this? This is post-COVID. Zoom is like default company stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I will say that there is something to be said for being physically present with somebody else if you're going to sit down and work. And like, speaking of somebody who has ADHD myself, if I'm just talking to someone on a Zoom call and then I hang up, like we might not have that kind of free-flowing collaborative process working on it. Whereas like, say, hey, I take a weekend, we're just going to sit down this weekend and work on it. If I'm sitting with another person, we've decided to work on it the whole time, we might get a lot more done. But yeah, it doesn't have to be that way. It may just be a thing where their work process had been developed initially because they were roommates. So they were used to that kind of situation, and maybe they just felt that worked better for them than Zoom calls. I don't know.
A mystery about a former social media clique who had gone their separate ways on very bad terms, and they were coming together for a reunion at a sort of VidCon event. They were all sharing a house, and then some of them were going to start showing up dead. Around this same time, summer of 2023,
oh God, for a second, when he said they're all going to show up dead, for a second, I hadn't realized that he was talking about the premise for the short film. I thought he was talking about, like, he was going to go, like, to VidCon with a couple of people, and then he murdered them all.
Nick had moved to the GTA full-time.
Side Ethel says, you have to say they were roommates in the funny voice only? Okay, they were roommates. Oh my God, they were roommates.
He and I spent weeks working out exactly how the murder mystery would parse out in the movie. We had a bunch of whiteboards up on my wall, and we were just breaking it down piece by piece. I'd put out a new casting call in the GTA and received hundreds of responses. So I was planning on casting as soon as the script was finished. But after trying to work out the numbers as far as paying actors went, plus locations, food, costumes, as well as the equipment that we'd already purchased and the legal costs of setting up Telos as a business, we realized that we'd gone way too big with this movie. The movie had too many characters and too many locations, and it was just way too complex to be able to pull off with the budget. So I started working on a script for a movie called The Listener, about a true crime podcast.
Okay, so there are financial costs involved with forming a business, getting licenses and stuff like that. But like, how much money did he raise on Telos? Like, he says buying equipment, right? Okay, so like, is he including his 6K and 10K cameras for that? Like, is that the equipment that he's talking about buying?
Focused on the mysterious deaths of homeless gay men in his city. I was a fair way in the mysterious death called The Listener, about a true crime podcaster focused on the mysterious deaths of homeless gay men in his city.
I don't want him writing that at all. With his history, with how he's treated dead gay men, I don't want him anywhere near that.
Fair way into the script.
His niche says they raised $60K for Telos. $60,000. $60,000. And he was buying 10K and 6K cameras, and which he doesn't fucking need because he's using his 10K camera and you can't fucking tell. Jesus Christ. $60,000 and nothing to show for it except a couple of posters. What happens to the Final Girl short? Why couldn't you just do the Final Girl short? Is it because you needed a page 1 rewrite on that, so you decided to write something else that was bigger and ended up being too expensive? Dust off the Final Girl script. Redo that. What happened to starting small as a proof of concept to prove that you actually know what you're doing? He just went from that to going, okay, no, we're going big. We're going big, except we can't afford to go big, so we're just going to take the money and go home. Like, no, fuck off. $60,000 with nothing to show for it is not, oh, we had some business costs that we had to eat. No, that is fraud. Dormia says the Final Girl was just stolen. Yeah, he said that Final Girl Support Club, the book was not at all related to his story, and without having read that book or without being able to read the script that he had for the Final Girl, I have no way of knowing. He claims they're nothing alike, but he is a liar. So yeah.
When we realized it'd be about a year before we could even film anything, since winter was on its way and the story relied heavily on a summer setting. So we went back to the drawing board yet again, finally settling on a modern-day adaptation of The Vampire, based on the book by John Polidori. It's one of the original works of published vampire fiction. It's never received a proper film adaptation.
Hey, he learned that if you go back far enough, you can find public domain works, and then it's not plagiarism.
And was in public domain, so we thought it would be a great choice. And the cast could be kept down to basically 5 characters, with only 2 of them being on screen most of the time. Nick and I both wrote treatments for it, which we planned on melding together into a final treatment that we would write the script based off of. We'd had a meeting about it, and we were talking about how best to move forward, how fast we could get the script written, how long it would take to cast, how soon we could start shooting. We knew that it had been a while since the initial funding of Telos came in, and we wanted to get something concrete out as soon as possible. After the meeting, we went to dinner, and while at dinner, I started getting messages about the H.Bomberguy video.
Are you fucking kidding me? Are you shitting me? He's blaming H.Bomberguy for why he ran off with 60 grand. Dormy says that's so obviously a lie. Well, like, he knew ahead of time that H.Bomberguy was making a video about him. Oh, Dormia says H-Bomb is in GMT, published the vid during the day for him. Do you have a conversion on that? Like, because okay, so he was in Ottawa. If somebody can look that up, hang on. Ottawa time zone is Eastern Standard Time. Okay, so that is GMT -5. So dinner for James is like late night for H-Bomb. It's at least 5 hours. Okay, so also keep in mind that it's 2 hours into the H-Bomb video that he drops the James Somerton thing. So you have to consider when the video dropped, add 2 hours, unless people skipped ahead. Which, I mean, of course people did, but like it's still, it's a 4 hour video, so it would have had to take a while for it to get the full traction. And I saw people tweeting about it pretty much right away. And if James was not plugged in online at the time, it might not have been immediate. Except, no, wait. How quick was his response? Did he? Yeah, that's right. No, he was started like privating things like 3 hours later, right? Yeah, no, like didn't he actually start like responding and privating shit before like the length of the video had even been finished? Yeah, pretty much immediately. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. He did respond pretty much immediately. Let me go back. So he said he was at dinner when he...
Dinner. After the meeting, we went to dinner. And while at dinner, I started getting messages about the H.Bomberguy video.
Is there any way to find out the time, the exact time that H.Bomberguy's video was released? Okay, so it was posted on Reddit. The official... Okay, so... Sorry. Bringing this up here. So the official posting on the H.Bomberguy subreddit for plagiarism in YouTube, this had, because it's the H-Bomb subreddit, it had to have been posted there pretty much immediately as soon as it came out. So that was posted Saturday, December 2nd at 5:23 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which would have been 8:23 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is around dinner time. So this may actually be... Well, and also, hang on. So that would have been like 1:30 or 1:30 a.m. H-Bomb's time. Yeah, H-Bomberguy Discord says 8:22 p.m. EST is when it was posted. Okay. So then No, all right. We fact checked it. This actually does add up then. That he could plausibly have been at dinner when he started getting alerted to the video. That being said, there were indications earlier that H.Bomberguy was doing an investigation of James Somerton. In fact, hadn't H-Bomb reached out to James Somerton at some point? I don't know that he was 100% blindsided by it. Maybe he thought that H-Bomb was using him for a citation or something, but like, I don't think the dinner thing is a lie. I don't think that was his first indication that H-Bomb was doing something about it. H-Bomb had already indicated that he was doing a video on plagiarism because he pulled out that stuff for the Illuminati situation, because he already had it on hand because he was doing his plagiarism video. And he didn't mention James Somerton there. But if James Somerton had been paying any kind of attention to H-Bomb, he probably would have been able to put two and two together if H-Bomb had reached out to him. Again, I'm not 100% sure that he had beforehand, but I seem to remember saying something about that. Yeah, Side Detzel says, when you have to fact check everything because liar. Yeah, okay, yeah.
We were in over our heads once we left the East Coast, but the intention was never, ever to take the money and run. I was so insanely excited about getting to make Telos a reality. I was excited about getting to make a short film, let alone a feature. It's always been my dream to make movies. So Telos meant and means.
Oh my God. Holy shit. I'm taking a look over at his Patreon. James of Telos. 3 posts. How many members does it have? Total members 14, paid members 6. This video came out this morning. So in 12 hours, he has amassed a grand total of 6 suckers. His niche said, oh, he rebranded again. Well, like I said, because he was talking about how his Telos plans, where he had been stealing people's money and not making movies of it, that he was literally just about to make the movies when H-Bomb did his video on him. And that's why he had been running away with the money for months and months and months and months and months with nothing to show for it. Because he was super serial. He was totally just about to start making the movie, but then H-Bomb happened and he couldn't because his reputation was in the toilet. But he just said Telos meant and means a lot to him. So he's right now about to pivot. That's what this video is about. That's why he had the Patreon in his fucking description. Because he thinks you're all still a bunch of rubes who are going to believe that he's actually going to fucking make a movie. After all this time, after everything, after the proven lies, the proven plagiarism, the proven grift. Just give him a little more money, guys. Just sub to his Patreon. He's turning a new leaf. He's going to make movies for real this time. Oh my God. That's why this video is 43 minutes. This is a very extended Patreon trailer.
The world to me. For Nick, it was a very exciting project, but not his passion. Nick wanted to write novels. He still does. Nick looked at this as a good creative outlet that was way more fulfilling than writing video essays. I should have stayed where I was and not gone to Ontario. The move uprooted everything that was solid about Telos, and it took a whole year to get it back onto even anything close to stable footing. But I am working with a producer now.
Yep, there it is. There it fucking is. Yeah. Oh yeah, and throwing Nick under the bus as well. Yeah. Nick wasn't passionate about. Yeah. No. Yeah. If only Nick had cared a little bit more about James Somerton, then maybe he wouldn't have stolen all of that money and not had anything to show for it.
You can expect an actual product from Telos this year. It will likely be a short film to start off.
This year. Okay. Smart of him to release this in February, so he's still got, 10 months ahead of him. But if I were a betting man, I know which way I'd bet.
But there is going to be something coming out of Telos this year. I know I've lost your trust.
Yep.
But I will make nothing financially from this project.
I don't believe you.
That is there will go wholly to paying queer artists to work on a queer film.
then show receipts. Literally nothing that you say can be believed. You will have to show receipts every step of the way. You will have to have detailed financial transaction history that can be independently verified. Because I don't trust you.
I am not, nor have I.
Also, like, again, he launched this. How many subscribers does he have? 240k subscribers. Now, that's actually, let me look up Social Blade. I want to find out how much he had before. Okay, so he lost most of them. This is his Social Blade. At his height, he had 337k subscribers, but now he's down to 240k. For some reason I thought it was more than that, but that's still, like, it's not a small channel. 240k, that's a decently sized channel. And he's got 6 paid members. The view count dip. Oh, yeah. Well, of course, nothing. He had privated everything, right? He's got very few. Oh, yeah, 0 video views at all. Like, nothing. Nobody's watching him in it anymore. None of this money is going to queer artists to work on a queer film because you're not going to get any money. You've got 6 patrons. And I would venture a guess that at least half of them, if not more, are literally just there to keep tabs on you. They've probably given the minimum amounts that they can to get access to all of your posts.
Ever intended to be one of the people paid by Telos. Neither was Nick. We made this very clear to everyone who asked. During our work on Telos is also when the YouTube channel started getting sponsors, which, as I said, as someone who grew up poor, I basically accepted all of them, except for a few that I didn't think lined up with the message of the channel or had some bad news surrounding them. There were a couple that had some anti-trans stuff going on in the news, and I just didn't want to associate with that. But by accepting as many sponsors as we did, which became very important when Nick and I started living apart and suddenly had 2 rents to pay, we ended up needing to produce even more videos, which, along with the work on Telos and making sure everything was okay with my dad while living thousands of kilometers away, meant I had even less time for writing.
Again, tying all of this in to be like, here's why I plagiarized, guys. I really wanted to make the movies that I didn't make. And I had a lot of sponsors that I needed to take to make videos on plagiarized content for. Again, like I said, the fact that he's bringing up Telos this much and talking about what it meant and means to him, and that he's going to be still, like, that's what this is. This whole thing has been a build-up to him announcing his next grift. Oh my god, this is so much worse than I thought it was going to be. I assumed it was going to be bad, but I assumed it was going to be bad in the way where somebody has learned a lesson, but, like, still has some work to do. This is unrepentant. This is scummy. This man is not sorry at all. This man wants to grift you again. Nobody's buying it this time because his reputation's been destroyed. But he's trying anyway.
More stress on Nick and leading to even more copy pasting from me. That's what led to us putting out, I think, 6 videos in 1 month at one point. It might have been 5, but in any case, it was way too damn many videos to go out in 1 month. We tried to take the summer off from YouTube in 2023 to work on Telos exclusively, but even that went up in smoke because my housing situation just... I won't go into it here.
Oh, why not? Why not? No, you've gone into every other sob story. Why stop here? like we got the time. You've got another, like, 15 minutes into your video. Why stop here?
About it ad nauseum on streams and stuff. If you followed me on social media, you know the clusterfuck I ended up in that led to me moving twice in 2 months. In the last couple of months.
Oh, that was a cut there. You see that?
That led to me moving twice in 2 months.
That was a weird jump cut. I don't know if that's just bad editing or if he pulled something from this, because I haven't really noticed any other cuts. I wonder what happened there.
Last couple of months, I've received a lot of emails, as you can imagine. Many from people who were rightfully let down. Some from people threatening everything from doxing to violence because of the internet. Some with the kindest words of support I've ever heard, and others simply asking why I made it so difficult to contact me and if I was okay. They wanted to know why, as they put it, I nuked my social media presence. To be frank, it's because I didn't want to exist anymore.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So at the start of this video, at the very start, it says content warning, discussion of self-harm from 2808 to 3004. And he put that at the very, very, very start. The very, very, very start of the video, instead of right here, right before it happens. That's what the cut was, because he's coming in to do this stuff. But like half an hour has gone by in the video. For me, 2 hours have gone by. So like that was in my rearview mirror long past. So when he's bringing it up now, he should have had this disclaimer here, but he put it back there so that he can not just gain more sympathy early on, but also make it sound more salacious. Like this right here, it's like it's like if anybody watched the Watchmen TV show, the 2019 one on HBO, there is like this this program is not suitable for all audiences, and it's like this super spooky thing that makes it sound really hardcore, and it, like for the show within the show. And like I've seen other people use it as a meme and stuff like that, where it's just like, oh, this is so salacious, you want to keep watching. And so for him to throw that there at the beginning, but not remind you again before he gets to this point, it's not a content warning at that point. It's a tease. Generally speaking, when people are talking about sensitive subjects like self-harm, if the entire video isn't about that, they warn you, okay, here is the section where I'm going to be talking about that stuff, if they care to warn you. Because that's when you do it. Because if somebody wants to skip it, they can go and skip around that part. But he doesn't have chapters to this video, so that you can't like look down there and skip it around. He doesn't warn you here before he gets to it. He warned you way back here, and by the time you're getting to it, you're probably not like paying attention to the time code, you're just watching the video. So yeah, he did it in the worst possible way he could. This is a bad way. Yeah, it's scummy.
If you watched my honestly horrendous apology video back in December.
I didn't, but I saw a little bit of it, and yes, I agree, what I saw was horrendous.
You know I tried to make that happen. The not existing thing. But it was more intense than taking too many pills. It's not that I didn't want to.
Okay. What are you going to do here? How far in detail are you going to get here? And honestly, why should we care? Because again, this is all just for sympathy. This is all just deflecting from the harm that you have caused by saying that you too were so hurt by it. Like, I'm sorry, but suicidality is a very important thing. It is something that needs to be taken seriously, but it's also something that can be used in abusive situations. People can weaponize their suicidality to elicit desired responses from others. We saw that with like the Jonathan Majors abuse trial. Released texts from that where he was berating his then girlfriend and threatening to commit suicide because of her behavior. Like, that is manipulative, abusive rhetoric. And for this, like, I have no connection to James Somerton. I don't care about James Somerton. All I know about James Somerton is that he plagiarized. And in this video called A Measured Response about the plagiarism, in which he owns up to the plagiarism while he's trying to sell you on his new venture, hopefully that you're a big enough sucker that you'll fall for it, he's now also bringing up the suicide attempt. And the only reason for that I can tell is, again, to elicit sympathy, to make you feel bad for him, that things got so bad that he almost killed himself. And I'm sympathetic to suicidal ideation. I have been there, but it's not something you bring up while talking about your wrongdoing. Because that's just deflection.
Be alive anymore. It's that I wished I'd never existed at all. That everyone I'd ever known would be better off had I just never been there. Very George Bailey, which is fitting.
That's actually weird because I literally brought up It's a Wonderful Knife, which is a parody title from It's a Wonderful Life. Completely unrelated. I'm not a pre-watcher. That is interesting that tied in.
Given that it was Christmas time. It's only thanks to some very, very dedicated doctors and nurses and one very good friend that I'm even here able to film this right now. I'm not going to name her because I don't want to expose anyone else to the small but seriously unstable group of people who watched the Plagiarism and YouTube video and thought, well, he should be dead. Like I said, it was a very...
Okay, then why are you drawing attention to it at all? You've said her, which is already an identifying characteristic of this person. By saying you don't want to mention her, is she presumably another content creator? Is it somebody that somebody could tie into? Like, by saying I don't want to bring attention to her because of all these people who want me dead, you're already giving them a piece of information to work on. So you want to use her, but you want to act like you're protecting her. You could have said them. When you're talking about somebody who you want to conceal the identity of, you use them. Especially when you're doing it because you're specifically trying to protect their identity.
Small group. But when they find out your address, and some of them are actually in your city.
Okay, whoa. This is the second time he's done this in this video. Because he said that with his Jesse Gender fight, that somebody had sent him a death threat, and then he found out they live very close to me, so I made a police report about it. And again, he's doing it, where he's saying he wants you to think that holding him accountable for his actions might kill him. He's not saying it that way, because deliberately saying it that way sounds fucked up and abusive. But that's what he's saying here. That's what he's implying. And he says, he's like, oh, it's a small group because he wants the, he doesn't want it to sound like anybody who holds him accountable is therefore the one killing him. But he does want you to be aware that when somebody like H.Bomberguy makes a video exposing you for who you are, well, that could kill you. That's where he's going with this.
It can be terrifying. And they did find my address. And at least a couple of them showed up while I was at the hospital. My neighbors did report them to the police.
Oh, okay. So when he said they showed up while I was at the hospital, I thought they showed up at the hospital. No, they showed up at his house while he was at the hospital. Saying his neighbors reported them to the police. Oh, do you have a police report on that you can bring up? They reported him to the police, then there should be a paper trail tying that. You can redact details so that we don't have like identifying information, redacting addresses and stuff like that. But if that happened, if you had a couple people showing up at your house and your neighbors filed a police report about it, then you should be able to pull that up. Yeah, Bakuni says, where was his concern when other creators received that treatment by his fans when he was called out for plagiarism? Well, okay, so in this video, he did say, like, previously with the Jesse Gender thing, he said it was, like, one person, and he tried to, like, not imply that it wasn't, like, a fan of Jesse Gender. It was just a deranged individual. And he said here it was a very small group of people. He is trying to minimize. He is not trying to go and say H.Bomberguy's community explicitly is doing this. He's instead doing something even more insidious, which is just implying that due to the nature of the internet, any attempt at accountability puts your life at risk.
And I won't go into any more details than that. I'm not sure if I legally even can, but there's a reason I left.
Well, that's convenient. That's actually very convenient that you bring up a bunch of details and bring up stuff that you should be able to bring up receipts for, but legally, I can't go into any more details than that. There's legal issues. That's very convenient, is all I'm going to say about that one. Yeah, Bakuni says, no, I mean, he would tell his fans that anyone accusing him of plagiarism was homophobic and his fans harassed them on Twitter and etc. That's what you mean? Oh, okay, I gotcha. Right. Yeah, no, so he was weaponizing his community to harass other people. Gotcha.
Left Ontario within a week of getting the okay to do so from the doctors. So what's next then? Like I said, you'll notice that a few of my videos are live again on the channel.
Yep.
These ones don't come from plagiarized content, and for the most part are written entirely by Nick. Nick lost 3 years worth of work when everything on the channel was taken down. And that's simply not fair to Nick.
Yeah, and whose fault is that? There's one person whose fault that is.
He worked hard writing those videos and deserves to have something to point to when he's looking for new writing work. I've also done some heavy editing.
I'm going to be real. I think Nick's reputation is probably forever tainted by this. Even if Nick was completely unaware of the plagiarism, the fact that it went on this long, even if I'm willing to give Nick the full benefit of the doubt, that is a stain on your reputation that I don't know that you can overcome. Because yeah, when for 3 years, all of his writing has been for a plagiarist, people are going to ask questions. And I don't know, maybe your manuscript doesn't make it out of the slush pile because somebody's like, hey, didn't that guy work with the plagiarist? The YouTuber who was just, plagiarizing every single video, and that guy was the head writer on that channel? Yeah, we're not pulling this one out of the pile. Stuff like that. I think Nick's career as a writer is probably over as well, even if he has no blame in this one. That sucks, and that's James's fault.
On other videos that did contain other people's writing, breaking it down to only original content, again, so that Nick has an actual portfolio of work.
Wait, well, that's why you put those videos up. Because you want people, when they're looking for work that Nick has done, to be able to point to your channel. So when Nick goes around and tries to show examples of his work, people are going to Google James Somerton. That's why you put those videos back up. No, Nick can never bring you up again. That section of his life is just like, oh yeah, sorry, some marinara fell on that part of the resume. I can't recover it. Like, that's how you treat that. Or you say, I had a 3-year mental break and I was in institution, so I wasn't writing for that period or something like that. Like anything. He does not want your name anywhere fucking near his reputation. There is no benefit that he can get from these videos that you claim have no plagiarism in them that were written by him. There's no way that we can trust that that's true. And if that's the reason that you're giving for why you put it, come on.
Mentioned at the beginning of the video, revenue from these will be going to the H.Bomberguy team to be sent out to the writers I plagiarized from or donated to charity. However it works.
Oh, wait. Okay. So it's work that you claim was all original, that Nick was the writer on. You're donating that to the people you plagiarized from or to charity, but not to Nick, whose career you ruined. No. For Nick, it's just up there so that people can look and see, oh, Nick, let me Google him. James Somerton. Oh, he wrote for this channel? Okay. Oh, there's a couple of videos on here. What's this one called? A Measured Response. Wait. James Somerton. Why is H.Bomberguy showing up in the search suggestions for this? Oh my god. No, we're not hiring this guy. Like, literally no benefit comes to him from you doing this.
Out in the end. These edited videos will be going back up on the channel in the next few days, I think, along with 2 completed video essays that we didn't actually get to release before everything happened. There's also some recent videos that didn't have any plagiarism that the sponsor asked to be taken down and their ads removed. So they'll also be going back up without the sponsors, obviously. And soon I will be releasing a new video.
Okay.
Written entirely by me.
I don't believe you.
Properly cited, with all sources credited. Maybe no one will watch it.
I won't. This is probably the last James Somerton thing I'm ever going to watch.
But I hope you do. I want...
Yeah, again, like I said, this whole thing has just been I'm sorry. Now give me more money and watch my content. It's an entirely self-serving apology.
To prove that I have the ability to do this without abusing other people's work.
Now that I realize that this is mostly just we're bumping up to 1.5 speed. Sorry.
It's a very different kind of video than I used to make, though. I'd say it's more of a documentary than a video essay. You won't find my opinions anywhere in there, just cited facts. I'd like to keep making videos like these new ones about people and events in gay history.
Yeah, I would like you not to do that. I would like other people to do that. You have proven that you can't be trusted to do that. So don't keep doing it. Honestly, you do a disservice by doing it because nobody will trust anything that you say. People are going to work from the assumption that you're either lying or you have stolen that information. Regardless of how many citations you put up, your reputation is trashed. Nobody's going to believe you.
And definitive gay movies that you maybe never heard of. Stuff like that. It's actually something that I planned on doing this year anyway. There would be 2 videos a month. Nick would write a video essay, and I would write one of these documentary-style videos that would fulfill the 2 videos per month sponsorship deal that we had at the time. I have no sponsors now, so probably not going to be 2 videos a month. It'll probably just be the one, which will give more time for research and citation.
Blah, 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 blah.
Get sure that there is no misinformation in the videos.
Dude, like, why are you trying this? Find another job. You've got expensive equipment. Go learn how to operate the camera or rent out that equipment to other people. Like, you wanted to get into filmmaking. You know how the slow-mo guys have a really expensive slow-mo camera? They don't just use it for their channel. Like, the phantom camera that the slow-mo guys use, it costs as much as some houses. So they rent it out and operate it for like commercials and stuff as well. Like, they don't just do fun, sciencey, slow motion videos. They use their expensive equipment, rent it out to other people, and operate it. You've got a $10,000 camera. Maybe you could rent that out to people. Maybe that's how you can make some money. Nobody's going to accuse your camera of plagiarizing. Video people's weddings. Yeah, exactly. Be a shitty videographer.
Which I know that misinformation made its way into our past videos. That was not something that we intended. In some cases, it was information that I was told by people that I considered experts. In other cases, it was information that we had researched. In other cases, it was things that Nick had learned in university. The point being, it was never malicious.
Okay, throwing Nick under the bus yet again.
We weren't trying to lie about things, despite what a lot of people think. We were not trying to spread misinformation. That was not ever our intention.
I mean, I just don't believe you. I can't believe you because this whole video has been self-serving because you've been lying to us for years. Even if that's motivated by like self-delusion where you've convinced yourself that you're not lying, there's still a part of your mind that knows that you're lying to people.
That's something else that I want to apologize for. As for my Patreon, everyone can stop worrying about me relaunching it right in time for a billing cycle. That will not be happening. I don't want anyone who either doesn't know about the plagiarism or simply forgot to unsubscribe to get billed. So I'm going to start from 0.
There it is. Yep. Here comes him launching his new Patreon. Let's go.
I have put together a new Patreon account. So if you want to support my documentaries about gay history, fantastic. Honestly, your faith in me after everything means the world to me. If not, I completely understand. Like I said, I've lost your trust. I'm going to work my ass off to earn it back, though. And I know for some of you,
it's going to be fruitless. Like I said, like 12 hours, you got 6 paying patrons. Right now, James Somerton, who has 240 times my subscribers, has about the same number of patrons that I do.
I'll never be able to do that, but I'm going to try anyway.
Oh yeah, by the way, patreon.com/gayfesh if you like my content and you want to support me. If James is going to shill his content while he's being a piece of shit, I can shill mine while, you know, depriving James Somerton of the ad revenue from you watching this.
There's a link in the description to the Patreon if you want to join it, where you'll be able to see the 2 yet to be released videos right now, as well as, you know, take part in other stuff that will be on there, like a book club, podcasts, voting on upcoming videos, all the usual Patreon stuff. But this video is not about promoting myself. This video is about me.
That's not true. That's just a lie. If this video wasn't about promoting yourself, then you wouldn't have spent all that time building up to promoting yourself. That you wouldn't have spent all that time explaining why you stole $60,000. That you spent all that time explaining why you plagiarized. You would have just said, hey, I plagiarized. I stole money from people and didn't deliver on what my backers were expecting. I was wrong. I have reached out to the aggrieved parties as much as I can, but I also owe an apology to the public because the public was lied to by me. And that's the whole video. Put that out, 5 minutes tops. Not this self-serving bullshit, a measured response. Fuck you. Kiss my ass.
Apologizing. And I am incredibly sorry. It was never my intention for anyone to feel hurt or left out or excluded. It was never my intention to spread misinformation. And I'm really, really sorry that that happened. And, you know, as much as I've tried to explain myself in this video, you know, the memory issues, the ADHD, the personal things that were going on in my life with my mom getting sick and then dying and trying to make sure that my dad was okay following that and everything. Those aren't excuses. There is no excuse for what I did. There are lots.
Then why did you include them? There's no reason for us to know or care about this, other than for you to try and minimize. When people throw in explanations for why they did the bad thing, they can say it's not to minimize, they can say it's just to provide context. But at the end of the day, what it does is create the narrative that I'm not as culpable as I should be because there were extenuating circumstances, which means you shouldn't be as mad at me as you are, which means really you should forgive me. I'm not your friend. I don't give a fuck about you. But you harmed a lot of people, and they don't give a fuck either that it was hard for you to harm them. You just harmed them. And so, yeah, no, this whole sob story bit, like, he's lying when he says he's not doing this as an excuse, because that's what you say. It's like, no, it's not an excuse, but my mom died and I moved across the country for a friend who kept moving, and I spent all this money on stuff that just never was able to materialize because this, that, and the other thing. I have mental issues and that's why, and this, that, and the other. Like, of course they're excuses, because that's why you're bringing them up. This is so bad.
To people who make videos on YouTube. There are lots of people who make podcasts, TV shows, movies, documentaries, who have shit going on in their lives that's very stressful.
Yep.
And they don't plagiarize people's work. There is no excuse for what I did. For everything that happened, whether it be...
That's like, yeah. No, we all have hard lives. Like, it's 2024. Nobody is, like, you know, enjoying life right now. But yeah, all of these other people have to deal with this shit too. And they don't plagiarize. And like, I don't know. I could talk about the shit that's going on in my life. I don't want to. Because honestly, I don't really want to encourage that kind of parasocial attachment with my audience about it. And I also don't have anything to apologize for. If I had something to apologize for, would I bring all that shit up? No. Because it's not relevant. Because we're all going through shit. Everyone's going through shit. The world is a shitty place. It's just mountain after mountain after mountain of shit. And we're all dealing with it. And most of us don't fucking plagiarize. So, yeah, I don't give a fuck about you, dude. I don't care why you did the things that you did. You did the things that you did. And I don't need the context for it. I just need you to say you're sorry. That's all that was needed here.
With my mom or the memory issues, there was something I could have done to mitigate that. There's nothing I could have done about my mom getting cancer. But knowing my patrons, as I did, in hindsight, I'm pretty damn sure that if I had said, guys, I need to step away for a couple of months to deal with this, I don't think a whole lot of people would have fled the Patreon. A part of me thought they would at the time because I catastrophize, but I really don't think that would have happened. Even in the very beginning, when I was like, oh, I got to get as many videos out as possible. If I had said to those people who subscribed to the channel early on, you know, for the next video, I want to make sure that it's fully correct. And I want to make sure.
This is why I'm glad that my Patreon has very few actual, like, required milestones. Really, for my Patreon, it's mostly just you get your name read out at the end of every video, which is pretty easy to do. I pretty much only have to re-record that when my Patreon situation changes, when I get, like, a new subscriber or something. But really, the only actual, like, guaranteed, like, here's what you have to fulfill. It's for like the top tier of my Patreon, and it's once a quarter you can force me to review something. So, and I've only had to do that twice right now. So like, yeah, I don't have a lot of stuff writing on my Patreon. My Patreon is just there so that you can say you're showing me your support, and as a show of thanks for that support, you show up in every video at the end. But beyond that, like, I'm not saying I will be doing 2 videos a month because of your support. Like, yeah, even now, like, I try to make sure that I get out a video every day, but that's actually pretty stressful to do. I'm constantly going, oh, do I have enough segments for this stream that I can get edited out in time to make sure that I don't have any gaps in my daily uploads? And I think I've missed like 1 or 2, but for the most part, I've been pretty consistent about getting my daily uploads up there. But it's stressful, and that's just like a self-imposed thing. But like, if I had to have like a Patreon where I'm like, I will put out like 2 video essays a month, because most of what I'm doing, they're all just stream segments, right? So, you know, it's all out here. I'm just off the cuff. I'm just, you know, spitballing. I might have notes on some of the stuff, but for the most part, you know, stream content, it's a lot easier to produce than like a video essay or something like that. But if I were a video essayist, I definitely wouldn't be saying I will be putting out X number of content per month. I would say, you're supporting me while I work on good content, and it'll come out when it's ready.
Sure that, you know, it's as high quality as it can possibly be. I don't think anyone would have, you know, unsubscribed or not watched.
Oh, Paco says the editing bit in particular seems hard to you to get a video out a day. Yeah. Honestly, if I were to just start and stop the segments, like just say, okay, here is where I start the segment, and I'm just gonna put it all without any cuts for anything like that, editing these segments would take no time at all. But unfortunately, I have a stutter, and I hate my stutter, and I like to cut it from my segments, and I also like to cut out long periods of silence, and so I have to go through every video and clean all that up, and that takes a lot longer. Honestly, I would probably be streaming more than twice a week if I had an editor, but I don't have the money coming in from my channel to be able to afford an editor. And I would like to do something where it's like, hey, you be the channel editor and you can take like half of the YouTube revenue. But again, I'm making like $20 a month in ad revenue. It's really not that much. So, you know what? I promise an editor $10 a month to do a daily video. Yeah, I don't think so. So like, it's hard. YouTube is a grind. There's a lot of work that goes into it, even if you're putting out just stream segments every day. But like, even that's just a personal commitment to me to try and get a video out every day because of the algorithm. That's not a promise. If I miss a day of uploads, I haven't violated a contract with anyone. I've just hurt myself in the algorithm. Anera says, any video essayist who does daily uploads is sus. Yes, as the Illuminati and as James Somerton has shown, if you are a video essayist and you're putting out very regular content, that is sus. That's why the big essayists are now doing maybe 1 or 2 a year, like H.Bomb, like ContraPoints. Philosophy Tube is actually putting out more consistent content. It feels like she puts out, what, like 4 a year? But yeah, like, it's not like back in the old days when they were putting out more regular content, because a lot of that too was just like responses to other people's videos, and now it's just more like the production schedules have gotten bigger, the videos have gotten longer, a lot more research has to go into it and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a grind, and I definitely have respect for the ones who put out less content but more quality content. Of course, here's me putting out a daily video, but I'm mostly commenting on current stuff anyway. I'm not doing any video essays. I'm a streamer.
The next video, because it didn't come out a couple of weeks after the algorithm decided that I was important for some reason. I convinced myself of these things, but I don't think, in hindsight looking at it, I don't think any of that would have happened. And so there is no excuse for the misinformation, and there is certainly no excuse for the plagiarism. I fucked up bad. I stole people's words and thoughts and opinions that they worked incredibly hard writing and publishing and finding someone to publish their thoughts and opinions and research, hard research that they had done. And, you know,
okay, right here, this is what the video should have been. Like, right from the point where he said, I fucked up, cut all of that, Start there. So far, from I fucked up, once we hear all of that, where he is acknowledging the harm that he did, what he did, and why it was harmful, that's good. Let's hear more of this and less of the rest of it.
Some cases, I put their names in the opening credits, which I thought was fine. But like I said, I've spoken with some of these people now, and I understand.
The I thought was fine. Leave that out. As soon as I paused because it was good, and then he immediately goes and tries to minimize again.
And why that was not okay. Because putting someone's name in the opening credits, okay, here's a list of people. Here's, 7 or 8 people who are, even if it was, everyone, even if it wasn't, taking giant chunks of their work.
Yeah, he's minimizing it again. Again, he's minimizing, even if it wasn't that much. Like, stop. You had it for a second there, man. You had the sliver of an actual fucking apology in there. It took you 38 minutes to get there, and then you immediately go back to your tactics. You immediately go back to the minimizing. You immediately go back to the excuse making.
A sentence here or there. Putting their name in the opening credits doesn't tell anyone where their work is in the video. Nobody can say, oh, I really liked that opinion, or wow, that's a really, smart observation. I want to read more from this person. And then, to find something you found interesting, you have to go play detective. And so, yes, just putting their name in the opening credits was wrong. I thought it was cool and, cinematic, but it was wrong. Citations should have been done properly. There should never have been just chunks of text being put into videos. There were times, like with the Queer History of Hollywood videos that I released this past spring, they were based directly on The Celluloid Closet by Vito Russo, the book, not the documentary. I expanded on it quite a bit, but it was based directly on Vito's work, and I credited him in the opening credits. And I thought it was okay to just do that because the book was out of print and Vito had passed away.
He thought it was okay to do it because he was dead. I was wondering, once he got to the point where he was like, okay, I'm actually doing apologies now, if he was going to say, I'm sorry, especially that I stole the work of dead gay men. And as soon as he brings it up, he says, I thought it was okay because he was dead. I was wondering if he would ever get to that point, because that to me was the most egregious part. If you've seen my react to the H-Bomb video, that's where I stopped having fun, was when I got to that point. I was having a wild ride. Like, I knew he had done harm, but I was just enjoying H-Bomb tearing him apart for it, right? But it was this moment and that video where I was just like I couldn't enjoy the takedown because I was so fucking mad at what he had done. And it's taken him 39 minutes to get to the part where he says he thought it was actually okay because he was dead. This is what I've been waiting for. And that's how he brings it in.
Fortunately, from HIV complications due to HIV and AIDS. And I looked at it more as extending his legacy, making sure that people knew about the work that he did. But I don't think I ever mentioned his name in those videos. He was, like I said, his name's in the opening credits, but I don't think I ever verbally mentioned his name. Someone who I have so much respect for, who's kind of an idol.
No, you don't have respect for him. You say that now, but you don't steal work from people that you have respect for. That's not what respect is. You take work from people you don't respect.
Of mine, and I never mentioned his name. It wasn't because I didn't respect him or anything like that. And it also wasn't because I wanted people to think that this was all me. Again, if that was the case, I wouldn't have put his name in the credits. I never wanted people to think that this was all me. So that's...
I don't believe you. I don't believe that at all. I'm sorry. No, I don't believe that. So that's it. That's his addressing the fact that he stole the work of dead gay men. Is he thought it was okay until it was pointed out that it wasn't. No acknowledgement of how fucked up it is that he was erasing people who had been erased by Reagan's genocide, that he was further contributing to that or anything like that. No. It's, I thought I was doing a good thing. Man, fuck this guy. This guy is a piece of shit. Fuck this guy.
Actually, one of the videos I want to make. I want to make a documentary style video talking about Vito Russo and his life and everything.
Don't. You are the last person who should be making that. Do not do that. Stop, James. Seriously, stop. Up to this point, I've been saying, like, yeah, you fucked up. You hurt a lot of people. Nobody's going to ever trust your content again. So you shouldn't make it because, like, it's going to be worthless because your word can't be trusted. But for this man particularly, don't fucking make content about him. You fucking thief. You fucking grave robber. Fuck off.
He accomplished because he didn't just write The Celluloid Closet. He did a lot more than that. He's someone that people should know about, obviously.
And I hope somebody makes a documentary on him. And I hope You aren't in it at all.
People can research him. There's books about him. But I know, it's easier to sit down and watch a 20 or 30-minute YouTube video than it is to read a book. I'd like to make a video about Vito Russo, properly cited and not just, copy-pasted from a book. I want to do the work. I want to prove, not just to you, but to myself, that I can do the work. And that's why I've started making these documentaries, working on these. I can't.
This is like, okay, so there is a common discussion on the left that we're supposed to be about rehabilitative justice and not retributive justice. And yeah, I agree. Rehabilitation is good. But rehabilitation doesn't always mean the person who did the wrong gets to be fully restored to the positions that they were in by doing the harm. Like, when Andrew Callahan was outed as being a serial rapist, he went away for a while, but then he brought back Channel 5. And people were like, oh, well, he apologized. So, shouldn't we believe in rehabilitation? But no, because he was using his position through Channel 5 to paint himself as some big leftist paragon to get into women's pants, often through immense pressure. And so when he came back, no, he doesn't actually get to come back because he's proven that he can't be trusted with that position of power ever again. I don't want him to be homeless. Andrew Callahan can go work somewhere else. But he can't come back to just start making the videos that he was making before. And so, James Somerton, I don't want you to be homeless. I want you to live a happy and comfortable life. But you can't make these videos. Your trust has been completely destroyed, and you can't be allowed to use the position that you built from that harm to try and prove that you can do it without that harm. That's over. You don't get to do that. Find another line of work.
I can't really put into words how sorry I am.
Well, you have 41 minutes into the video and you can't really put into words how sorry you are. I think I agree with you because you've been putting into words how sorry you aren't.
I've tried writing like a blog entry to say that I was sorry for about 2 months now. And I can't get across how sorry I am. And I know actions.
Yeah, you really can't get across how sorry you are. I agree with you.
Speak way louder than words. And I hope with my actions that I can show you that I am sorry. I'm sorry to everyone I plagiarized. I'm sorry to everyone I've hurt. I'm sorry to people who feel lied to. I'm sorry to people who feel like I abused the queer community. It was never my intention. Again, I'm sorry to...
Intentions don't erase the harm that you did. You can say it wasn't your intention. I don't have any reason to believe you that it wasn't your intention. But intention is not magic. And so it shouldn't be even entered into the equation when you were talking about your apology. We've got 40 seconds left in this video. How further angry can I get?
Jesse, there were actually several other YouTubers who were very nice to me. But I feel like with everything that went down, Jesse is the one that I should apologize to the most. I'm sorry for the people who felt scammed, who thought that Telos was a grift. It was not. It is not. I am very sorry. And I hope, given time and my actions proving it, that you can believe me.
Like a Vosh's thing comes right up here. James Somerton. That was 43 minutes of the most pity party self-serving bullshit. At no point in any of that did you deliver what can be read as an actual genuine apology. You got close for like 5 seconds there, but then you immediately throw in explanations and links to your Patreon and talking about how you were totally super serial gonna make those movies if it weren't for that damn H.Bomberguy interrupting you while you weren't making those movies. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. Hey, thanks for watching. Your view means a lot. Don't forget to toss me a like and subscribe and ring the bell. And drop a comment below telling me what you thought of the video. I stream Mondays and Fridays at 5 p.m. Pacific and Sundays at 2, so catch me live and join in on the convo. You can find all my socials in the description below, and thank you to all my patrons with a very special shout out to my Whaled Shark tier patron Ryan D and my Anemone friend tier patron Piftle Cakes. Your support means the world. Catch you next time.